Hi friends, we're reading Little House in the Big Woods and we're in the chapter called Summertime and we are at the bottom of page 189. The next morning, Ma would take out the round, pale, yellow cheese as large as a milk pan. Then she made more curd and filled the cheese hoop again. Every morning she took the new cheese out of the press and trimmed it smooth. She sewed a cloth tightly around it and rubbed the cloth all over with fresh butter. Then she put the cheese on a shelf in the pantry. Every day she wiped every cheese carefully with a wet cloth and then rubbed it all over with fresh butter once more and laid it down on its other side. After a great many days the cheese was ripe and there was a hard rind all over it. Then Ma wrapped each cheese in paper and laid it away on the high shelf. There was nothing more to do with it but eat it. Laura and Mary liked cheese making. They liked to eat the curd that squeaked in their teeth, and they liked to eat the edges Ma pared off the big round yellow cheeses to make them smooth before she sewed them up in cloth. Ma laughed at them for eating green cheese. The moon is made of green cheese, some people say, she told them. The new cheese did look like the round moon when it came up behind the trees, but it was not green, it was yellow like the moon. It's green, Ma said, because it isn't ripened yet. When it's cured and ripened, it won't be a green cheese. Is the moon really made of green cheese? Laura asked, and Ma laughed. I think people say that because it looks like a green cheese, she said, but appearances are deceiving. Then, while she wiped all the green cheeses and rubbed them with butter, she told them about the dead cold moon that is like a little world on which nothing grows. The first day Ma made cheese, Laura tasted the whey. She tasted it without saying anything to Ma, and when Ma turned around and saw her face, Ma laughed. That night, while she was washing the supper dishes and Mary and Laura were wiping them, Ma told Pa that Laura had tasted the whey and didn't like it. You wouldn't starve to death on Ma's whey like old Grimes did on his wife's, Pa said. Laura begged him to tell her about old Grimes. So, though Pa was tired, he took his fiddle out of its box and played and sang for Laura. Old Grimes is dead. That good old man, we never shall see him more. He used to wear a gray old coat, all buttoned down before. Old Grimes's wife made skim milk cheese. Old Grimes, he drank the whey. There came an east wind from the west and blew old Grimes away. There's old Grimes blowing away. Fun song. There you have it, said Pa. She was a mean, tight-fisted woman. If she hadn't skimmed all of the milk, a little cream would have run off in the way, and old Grimes might have staggered along. But she skimmed off every bit of cream, and poor old Grimes got so thin the wind blew him away, and he plumb starved to death. Do you think that's true? Then Pa looked at Ma and said, Nobody'd starve to death when you were around, Caroline. Well, no, Ma said. No, Charles, not if you were there to provide for us. Pa was so pleased. It was all so pleasant, the doors and windows wide open to the summer evening, the dishes making little cheerful sounds together as Ma washed them, and Mary and Laura wiped, and Pa putting away the fiddle and smiling and whistling softly to himself. After a while he said, I'm going to go over to Henry's tomorrow morning, Caroline, to borrow his grubbing hoe. Those sprouts are getting waist-high around the stumps in the wheat field. A man just has to keep everlasting at it, or the woods will take the place back. Early next morning he started to walk to Uncle Henry's. But before long he came hurrying back, hitched the horses to the wagon, threw in his axe, the 2 wash tubs, the wash boiler, and all the pails and wooden buckets there were. I don't know if I'll need 'em all, Caroline, he said, but I'd hate to want 'em and not have 'em. What is it? What is it? Laura asked, jumping up and down with excitement. Pa's found a bee tree, Ma said. Maybe he'll bring us some honey. It was noon before Pa came driving home. Laura had been watching for him, and she ran out to the wagon as soon as it stopped by the barnyard, but she could not see it. Pa called, Caroline, if you come take this pail of honey, I'll go unhitch. Ma came out to the wagon disappointed. She said, Well, Charles, even a pail of honey is something. Then she looked into the wagon and threw up her hands, and Pa laughed. All the pails and buckets were heaping full of dripping golden honeycomb. Both tubs were piled full, and so was the wash boiler. Pa and Ma went back and forth carrying the 2 loads of tubs and the wash boiler and all the buckets and pails into the house. Ma heaped a plate high with the golden pieces and covered all the rest neatly with cloths. For dinner, They all had as much of the delicious honey as they could eat, and Pa told them how he had found the honeybee tree. Tomorrow we'll read the part about how he found the honeybee tree. Good night.